The final show of our week, LCPioneerscom live, presented by Pio, stream 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday at 11:30, to try to keep you connected with the Lewis and Clark athletics community and everything that is going on as classes for the undergraduates wrapped up yesterday, heading into reading days and finals week, and heading into the summer. Hopefully, a summer that will return us to as much normalcy as we possibly can have right now in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic that's taken us off campus and helping you keep connected now virtually through the show again that we do 4 days a week. Lewis and Clark student athletes, coaches, community, and alumni are the guests that we like to have. And today we will welcome in someone from the alumni category, as I am Ryan Goff, play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark College, located in Portland, Oregon. We will have Jacob Bell join us in just a moment, a graduate class of 2019 with honors from political science and a former men's golf student athlete. He's working in the political science or the political realm now, utilizing his degree as someone in the public affairs world. So we'll ask him kind of his path on how he got to Lewis and Clark originally. He's from Kansas, and then also into the position that he is now, any of that pre-professional work that he did to get to where he is now in his professional world a year after graduation. Also, big Chiefs fan. And so I have to talk to him about his first Super Bowl of his lifetime and the second in the history of the franchise, because that was something that he and I always were always able to talk about during his time on Palatine Hill. As I mentioned, we're located in Portland, Oregon, NCAA Division III institution, and competing in the Northwest Conference, an outstanding conference with Northwest Oregon institutions and institutions from throughout the state of Washington. And the nice thing too with the world of Division III, there's over 430 institutions nationwide, so a chance to compete on the national stage as well. You can get involved with the program by going to LCPioneerscom on Twitter and Instagram. You can also comment in the Facebook live comments below. Those are just a couple of ways that you're able to stay connected with us on LCPioneerscom live. Want to show you what we did yesterday on Instagram because it is a big week ahead of us. It is Elsies week, and it's something that we used to host in person, not able to do that this year because of the pandemic, but we were able to announce what the upcoming week is going to look like on Instagram.
Hey Piles, want to give all of you a special shout out.
On behalf of the entire athletic department, I wanted to thank you for your blood, sweat, and tears this and every year that you've been here with us. Your dedication and commitment to being a true champion have not gone unnoticed.
As always, roll Piles!
So big thanks to Coach Ange and Coach Jackson, who are usually our on-stage MCs for that event, putting that video together. Again, we're going to be releasing content on Instagram, LC Pioneers there, starting on Sunday. Best moments of the year, senior memories. So definitely look forward to sharing those with you as big thanks to all of our senior and all of our student athletes, period, for everything that they've been able to do over their current careers, what will end up being their former careers for our seniors, and everyone who's kind of persevered through what has been an incredibly unusual year. Do want to also give a big congratulations before we get to Jacob Bell to Sabrina Murray. She was selected as the winner from the Inclusion and Multicultural Engagement Office's Excellence in Inclusive Engagement Award. This is something that they do, and they've been doing all week as well, trying to simulate what is usually a banquet of theirs to honor 5 different folks who have had a big impact for what the mission of IME is. And Sabrina Murray happens to be a junior with women's swimming, and she was the award winner for this particular award. So pretty cool honor for her. You can follow IME on Instagram, IME_LC, if you want to see more about what's going on in that world. Let's go ahead and get to Jacob Bell. He's joining us on LCPioneerscom live. He is a class of 2019 graduate from Lewis and Clark and now working in the political science realm. Jacob, we appreciate taking the time to talk to us on LCPioneerscom live. How is your Friday treating you?
Hey Ryan, happy to be here and thanks for having me. Friday has been good. Just watched the governor's press conference and, a normal work day, except for, of course, doing it remotely.
Yeah, we're going to get to that because it's been a big change for everyone at Lewis and Clark and throughout the entire country and the world with all these changes. I kind of want to start with, though, the reason we're having you on, we want to try to keep connected with alumni on this show and bring in stories about what people are up to. If you can, just kind of update us on your last 2 or 3 years, because it seemed like the moment you got into your junior year, you were full steam ahead with your profession. What is it that you're doing now, and kind of describe your path to getting there, please?
Happy to. So I am a lobbyist. So essentially what that means is that I am a policy advocate. I help to represent several different clients across different fields ranging from education to healthcare, and communicate with state legislators, different state agencies, and other stakeholders about different policies and bits of legislation that our clients would like to see passed. So during the legislative session, I spend 5 days a week, oftentimes 10 to 12-hour days down in Salem at the state capitol, attending committee hearings, listening to legislators debate on the floor, and then going in and having individual meetings with legislators and their staff. In terms of how I got to that position, so let's see, between my sophomore and junior year was the first internship that I had, and that was in the 2017 legislative session in Oregon, and I actually interned for the firm that I'm currently working for now at the latter part of the legislative session. And then I actually went to DC and worked for a U.S. congressman for the second half of that summer. And then the next summer, I ended up interning with the same firm that I'm currently working for again, and I was fortunate enough after that summer to hop on full time, starting right after, shortly after graduation. But during my senior year, I was also second semester, albeit working for a member of the Oregon House of Representatives. So I tried my best to get a wide variety of political experience, and I was very fortunate to have it all work out and be in the position that I'm currently in.
And from the standpoint of just getting into that world, what was it about the political realm, choosing a political science major, that really appealed to you? Why was that your path?
To be completely honest with you, my junior year of high school, I thought I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So things certainly changed pretty quickly, because when I entered college, I entered as a political science major rather than a biology or psychology major. But I really enjoyed politics all throughout high school, and of course still really enjoy politics. And it was just kind of frankly, a natural progression and natural choice for me, simply because of what I was interested in. And when I got my first internship, the way I found that was literally searching on Google public affairs firms in Portland, Oregon, and I was fortunate enough to send a cold call email to now my current boss, who was nice enough to sit down for an informational interview with me, and it ended up working out pretty nicely.
He's Jacob Bell, class of 2019, joining us on LCPioneerscom live. You're from Kansas originally. How did you wind up at Lewis and Clark and in Portland, Oregon?
So I was actually originally committed to go. I applied early decision to McAllister College up in Minnesota. I was looking at their golf program, and I ended up not getting into the school. And after that, I immediately went on the Forbes list of best colleges and found Lewis and Clark online and thought, wow, I've never really been west of Colorado at the time that I was applying, or at least since I could remember. And I applied, I emailed the golf coach and didn't hear back from the coach for about 2 weeks. So I was really scared and pretty nervous. But then, and the coach at the time was Dave Andrews. He called me during winter break while I was hitting balls in an indoor facility because there was a foot of snow on the ground in Kansas. And he invited me out for a visit, and going to Lewis and Clark was one of the best decisions that I ever made. And I visited on a 75-degree day in February with not a cloud in the sky, and coming from a place where there was a foot of snow on the ground in the winter, my decision was made as soon as I stepped on campus.
And you said Dave Andrews was the initial coach who recruited you. You transitioned into the tenure of the current head coach now, James Yen, who's going to be starting his fourth year coming up leading the program. When you specifically think about the golf program and your experience as an athlete at Lewis and Clark, what was it about the golf program that maybe really sticks with you even to this day, even to this moment?
That's a really good question, and I was always extremely thankful for the great relationships with my teammates. I mean, the men's and women's team both were really, really close, and we all practiced together. We were often traveling together, and some of my best friends in college were on the men's and women's golf team, and I'm so thankful for the relationships that golf gave me in college. I mean, I really entered college with an already set group of friends, and that was really, really valuable for me, and those will be lifelong friendships that I'm really excited to see everyone after quarantine ends.
And with the golf program, I mean, that was one of the sports that was heavily affected because of the coronavirus pandemic, because they weren't able to get much of their spring season in at all. How have you stayed involved with the program because your job has kept you in the Portland area? What have you done to try to still have an impact on your former teammates now?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2019, so there was certainly some overlap with many of the current players on the team, and I had some weekends open here and there, and I offered Coach Yen to help out on a volunteer basis every now and then to come coach a little bit for tournaments and help out as much as I can. And golf, and especially the Lewis and Clark College golf program, has given me a lot, and I wanted to give back in some way. And coaching has provided me with a really good opportunity to still stay in touch with a lot of the current players on the team while trying to do as much good and help as much as possible with the team.
Jacob Bell joining us on LCPioneerscom live. We're Tuesday through Friday at 11:30. You can watch our shows also archived on youtube.com/LCPios. Bring that up always too, because we acknowledge that we're trying to do this from wherever we are with the internet connections that we have. And so for some reason, you have some stalls, you're not able to join because your internet connection's failing, and you miss any of the live show, you can always watch the archives because we do record them locally and post them up on YouTube. And with that said, Jacob, I mean, everyone's somewhere, and we're trying to do our best working in this new world. Describe how your work has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, and kind of what you've had to make in terms of adjustments on your side.
So like I was saying, at least during the legislative session, and fortunately we were able to get through a lot of the legislative session, or all of the legislative session, I guess I should say, before the quarantine began this year. But during the interim between legislative sessions, it's still very busy, and we're having planning meetings to figure out what legislation is going to be proposed in the next session. There is going to be a lot of fundraisers for representatives, senators, and other elected members of governmental bodies throughout the summer and throughout the interim ahead of the primaries and eventually the general election in November. So now it's a lot of Zoom meetings to try to figure out what legislation is going to be proposed and working with our clients on how we are going to move forward to get ready for the next session. And, being a lobbyist, it's having in-person, face-to-face contacts and meeting with people face-to-face and figuring everything out is very important to the job. So it has been a little bit of an adjustment having all of our meetings on Zoom, but I do think that we're doing a pretty good job of making everything work.
And so with the remote work mantra, are you kind of held up at home in Portland and unable to kind of get out of the Pacific Northwest?
So right before the stay-at-home order, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do this, and I'm very grateful that my boss was okay with me doing this. But my partner lives in Arizona, and I ended up making the 22-hour drive down to Arizona on the weekend before the stay-at-home order went into effect. So I've been staying at home and quarantining down in Arizona with my partner for about the last month now.
Well, there are definitely worse spots to quarantine than Arizona, I imagine, as far as the weather is concerned, especially being from Kansas, as you talked about. And prior to this last year, I could boast that the last AFC West team to win any Super Bowls is the Denver Broncos. Obviously, my allegiance. And it was nice to meet you right off the bat freshman year. There was nothing but either Lewis and Clark logos on your on your apparel, or you having Chiefs stuff on. I'm going to give you the floor. What was it like to see your team win the first Super Bowl of your lifetime?
Well, I'll start off by saying that I know we've had conversations. You always hated my red and yellow Chiefs beanie that I'd wear at every single tournament. And I know that was probably hard for some of the photos and wanting all the Lewis and Clark people to be wearing LC gear, but I will tell you what, I flew into Kansas City for the AFC Championship game and when they played the Titans. And, you know, I've been a lifelong Chiefs fan. My dad and mom are both lifelong Chiefs fans. And seeing Andy Reid hoist the Lamar Hunt trophy and then seeing Clark Hunt and Norma Hunt host the trophy in the house that Lamar Hunt built, you know, the founder of the AFC, and seeing them hoist the trophy moved me to tears. And then, you know, I was watching the Super Bowl in a Chiefs bar in Northeast Portland with about 250 of my closest friends in Portland. And, you know, I was a little worried when they went down by 10 points, but then I thought that they had come back from down 10 in every single playoff game thus far, and they pulled it out again. And that celebration in the Chiefs bar up in Northeast Portland was amazing, and I am not ashamed to say that I cried 5 times after they won the Super Bowl. It was honestly just a surreal experience, and being a lifelong Kansas City sports fan, I mean, enduring so many years of horrible teams. I mean, I don't remember one year from like 1997 to when they got Alex Smith, when they were actually a threat to potentially make it to the Super Bowl. And now for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been pretty good, but there was nothing like seeing that first the Lamar Hunt trophy and then the Lombardi trophy being held by Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Clark Hunt, Norma Hunt. I mean, incredible.
Well, I will say this. My philosophy on being the fan of a team is if you're emotionally impacted for the better or the worse by the outcome of your team's games, and you certainly are, and to have the opportunity to pretend that you're 10 years old again and having that same emotional response even as a class of 2019 graduate, I'm happy for you. I hope it's the last one that they win in your lifetime because that means that the Broncos have a better chance. I'm looking forward to the year upcoming. Congratulations, though, on that and a successful first year out of school. Stay safe, and we appreciate you joining us on LCPioneerscom live.
Thanks so much, Ryan. I appreciate your time.
Jacob Bell joining us. It was a lot of fun to talk to him. And again, yeah, it hits a lot more closely in the sense that as a Broncos season ticket holder and a lifelong fan, I had to get a lot of fans of the Oakland Raiders in this area, and by far that's the team that I dislike the most, being a Broncos fan. But when he comes in with the Kansas City gear and is able to talk that smartly about the Chiefs, it was a lot of fun to talk to him over the course of 4 years of his career, and to see what he's doing now as a graduate of Lewis and Clark. Pretty excited for him making the most of his political science and the opportunities too. I wanted to get to Festival of Scholars. That's somewhere on one of our social media channels, which I would love to find. But he was one of the presenters at Festival of Scholars last year, and you could tell that he was kind of destined for some big things. And again, 1 year out, he's got some good things going for him. So big thanks to Jacob for joining us in LCPioneers.com live. And speaking of the realm of politics, the realm of law, we're excited for our guest next week. I'll show him to you now. Neil Ware is going to join us. He is the all-time fastest men's cross-country runner in the history of Lewis and Clark, and now the president and founder of Equally American. And it's an organization that he founded advocating for equal and civil rights for nearly 4 million citizens in the U.S. territories. So excited to catch up with him. He's based out of Washington, D.C., I believe now, and is excited to come on with us next Tuesday. So we'll talk to him. Also, Matt Kozdurka, the head coach of Lewis and Clark Baseball. We'll have him on Wednesday. Another spring sport. Been very heavy and intentional about bringing spring coaches on in the early going of the show because of the effect that the coronavirus pandemic had on the loss of their season. So get a chance for him to talk about what he did to honor his seniors. I mean, one thing I love about Coach Kozdurka, he is swift to act, and as soon as they found out the season was going to be canceled, postponed, etc., he took action to make sure his seniors got a send off, and that kind of went quasi viral on social media, which was pretty cool. Amy and Robin will join us on Thursday next week. NCAA does a nice job focusing on mental health, and they have a social media campaign that we'll be part of next week. So Amy and Robin are both from our counseling service at Lewis and Clark, and again, part of the show is to try to bring in voices that maybe we haven't had a chance to talk to frequently enough. And these are two examples, two people on our staff at Lewis and Clark who have a big impact on our students and student athletes alike. So excited to talk to them on Thursday, and then next Friday, a week from today, Etta Moen will join us. We might have Genevieve Cerna as well, because right now they're currently living together in the pandemic and quarantine. But I know Etta's going to join us for sure. She's off her best ever cross country season and was also overseas when everything happened with the pandemic. It was tough for her to get home, and so it was neat to kind of see her, even with some news coverage. I want to share her story with you as well. So that's our guest lineup for next week. We certainly hope that you will join us. Last but not least, other things that are going on in the content world, if you will, invite you to go to lcpioneers.com/YLC. You can see everything that Lewis and Clark is doing to keep you connected with the community through their social media channels and such. Also, Instagram, LCPiosXCTF. There's going to be another conversation from head coach Matthew Burrow. He does this nice thing where he has the student athletes have access to perspective from an athlete earlier in the week, and then on Friday, him and his assistant coach Jeffrey Randall kind of break things down. They're going to have Dom Scott on, who is a 5-time national champion at Arkansas and a runner for Adidas. So going to talk to Dom. She's the only one to win 3 straight SEC cross country titles. So that's the guest that they had earlier in the week, and they kind of recap that coming up at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Our head women's volleyball coach, Emily Hayes, also does a coffee chat 12 noon on Tuesday and Thursday. You can find that Instagram at LCPiosVB. That's another week in the books. We appreciate hanging in there, trying the best we can to keep you connected with student athletes, coaches, the Lewis and Clark community at large, and alumni on LCPioneers.com live. And we will do it again next week, which will be Elsies week as well. So be sure to keep up with us on Instagram, LC Pioneers, as we kind of relive the best moments of the last year. The best moments for spring sports, I think, will be especially touching, considering a lot of them didn't have their traditional seasons. So just being able to talk about their student athletes, the coaches, that is, will be neat next week. And then, of course, honoring our seniors as well as they finish out their final semester of finals in the coming days. We'll do that May 3rd through 7th on our Instagram page. That's LC Pioneers on Instagram. Until then, I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us. We will talk to you next Tuesday for more LCPioneers.com live. You can find us LCPioneers.com/live and archived YouTube.com/LCPios. Until then, goodbye, everybody.
My favorite spot on campus is like right outside the Dovecote, little benches, and there's flowers growing there, and you can get a little coffee at the Dovecote and sit there.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the weight room. I get that everybody loves like the gardens or the manor house, but our facilities for athletics here are actually amazing too, and the weight room is definitely my favorite spot.
My favorite spot on campus would either be the glade outside of the athletic facilities or South Campus. What is my favorite spot on campus? I really like the back porch of the manor house. It looks out on Mount Hood, and on a clear day, it's super beautiful just to sit around with friends.
I'm Ann Bentley. I'm an associate professor of chemistry, and in this research group, I supervise the 2 students working in the Rogers program this summer in our lab. The brown bag experience is a good chance for students to get experience presenting their work that they've done in the lab, especially to an audience that's not technical.
What's intriguing about the brown bag experience is it incorporates all of the Rogers program. So I'm able to hear people in the psychology department and what research they're doing, but it also gives us the opportunity to share our research with the greater science community at Lewis and Clark. And for incoming students, the summer program is really beneficial for getting opportunity in research. So I've had the opportunity for research in the past, but other students may not have the same opportunities. So it's nice to work in a professional lab setting and potentially have the opportunity to publish a paper, which looks really good moving on into doing professional research out in the field.
The students grow a lot during the summer in their ability to learn the techniques and apply the techniques and suggest their own ideas for what could come next and interpret their data. It's just a big, usually if they haven't done research before, they learn a lot in that short period of time.